So I must enjoy this story or something because I've recorded now 3 videos in the same day, and this one is a little bit different because this one has the webcam on and this one has the top bar on, which the top bar has been something that I've had off for probably at least 6 or 7 months at this point. Because in most videos it just looks smoother without the RGB, uh, without the I guess that is RGB, whatever that is above being turned on, and it's just smoother with the Wrestling Express going across the background. But either way, we're back at NXT. It's time for the first takeover, and I said in one of the previous videos that I would record takeover, so I'm gonna record takeover. The one thing I decided was that I will not have Paige defend the women's championship, but Neville and Oliver Gray, as well as Big E, will be defending the world titles. The one thing that has changed is Sammy, Cassius Ono, William Regal, Tori Wilson are all going up to the main roster. Charles Wright also got signed and sent down here. Tori Wilson got signed and sent down here. So there's a few people that got signed and sent down here. What are you going to do? It's expected. It's anticipated. It's something that happens. What are you going to do? I would just say that I'm making use of Tori as I'm having her have an interview segment with Dusty Rhodes. And the reason why I brought Jimmy Hart in is because Jimmy Hart's going to retire. So I figured I would give him the opportunity to be featured on a takeover event with Dusty, maybe doing a backstage segment or something like that, or maybe lifetime achievement or something like that. You know, maybe like I mean, I don't want to say the first Hall of Fame because maybe like Steve Kern and Florida-based wrestlers should be inducted in the Hall of Fame because of the Florida Championship Wrestling or Ohio Valley Wrestling, like people like that, like people who have been in the developmental in the past. But I basically wanted Jimmy Hart because I wanted to use him in some form or fashion, in some way, shape, or form. Um, Not as a manager though, because of the fact that I just didn't really, I just didn't really have the anticipation or the expectation that that it would be ideal. Huh. Maybe that's actually the ideal way to do it. Bray, I'm dropping the challenge now. We deal with your monsters, then you. Also, we've evened the odds tonight with a manager of our own vices. Tear down the house. We have our past, but NXT is to build our future. I mean, I will admit it sucks that I will not be able to do the ride with Sami Zayn down in developmental, but it's gonna be a lot of fun. I gotta say, building up Baron Corbin and Sasha and Charlotte and Emma, and the women's division, and having people like Derek Bateman and Bray Wyatt, like I said, and I never really hated Mason Ryan. I'm probably gonna bring in Dash Wilder. I'm probably gonna bring in Dash Wilder too to team up with Scott Dawson, and then I got Enzo and KS as an eventuality. Um, because the one thing I'm noticing, and this might be some advice for other people that might be doing this, is 30, uh, 30, 30, 60, 40, like the range in which the expectation is that people get called up is anybody over 30 in popularity is likely to get called up. So that means that I would probably guess Xavier Woods, Corey Graves, the people a step below are likely next to get called up. But somebody like Bo Dallas, he's got a bit of a ways to go before he gets called up. Yes, it would be a very difficult idea to put the title on Bo Dallas now that I look at it. Even by developmental standards, it would still be a little difficult to put the belt on Bo Dallas. But the reality of the situation is, yes, I also know in a previous video Chase Stevens was supposed to contend for the world title, but I decided to give Chase the spot of a veteran heel at the top of the card or near the top of the card, and it seemed to work. So reality of the situation is maybe I give it to Bo Dallas. I mean, um, maybe I give it to Corey Graves. Maybe I give the world title to Corey Graves instead. I mean, maybe this is also why Neville got the title when he did because of circumstances. That maybe Neville got the title because of him being in the position that he's in. They thought that it would be best for him. What am I talking about? Popularity wise, he fits, I guess is the best way to put it. Why do I not remember who was in that? Who's in the opening triple threat match? I'm assuming. Where's Santana Garrett then? Is she working elsewhere? Oh yeah, she's working a few other places. Yeah, it's probably either Shimmer or Shine, so that explains it. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that would just mean that maybe I should get a backup plan with the amount of people that ain't called up. Maybe I should get a backup plan as far as developmental is concerned. I really don't like Slate Randall. I really don't like his name. I really don't like his name. Of finding a partner isn't the most fun. I mean, as you can see, as I said, Enzo is still coming into his own. He must have just started. Jake Carter is again still coming into his own. I surprisingly picked Raven of all people to come in and fill up some roster spots based on what I'm noticing and the consistency of people getting called up. It seems very possible that if that's the case, then Raven could get called up pretty instantaneously, which honestly is like sort of like you gotta it's sort of like from the business standpoint that you can't pluck everyone away from me, because if you pluck everyone away, then what type of product am I going to have? You know what I mean? Like, what type of product am I going to have if you pluck all main stars away from me at one time? If anything, and I think this is something that, I mean, I know this is, the point of a video game, but, it's the idea that, like, if you look at it from a, I guess, long-winded standpoint, that if they were to hypothetically say, oh, we don't need this guy right away, so we're going to call him up in 3 months, that will give you 3 months with this, we'll give you 3 more months with this guy, then I would freaking love that. Because then I would have 3 more months with Cassius Ohno or my world champion or whoever. And I would love that because I want 3 more months with my world champion. Because now they're pulling my world champion and two top contenders to where I would need to look and say, okay, maybe Ricky Morton should come in, because I highly doubt if I bring in Ricky Morton that they would actually have Ricky Morton go up to the main roster. But it's like, would Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson actually be somebody that I should bring in to a developmental company? Like, I mean, no offense to them, but there's got to be a line somewhere, no? And I've already used Ricky Martinez, but I also don't want to overly depend on bringing in talent, bringing in the local talents. But it's like, if I brought in somebody like Barry Windham, like a veteran, I mean, Raven, but it's like, if I bring in veterans like that, are they not going to call them up? I'm not saying I have a problem with it. It's just, like, how, I mean, I guess maybe I'm thinking about it from a ratings perspective, and as a developmental, I shouldn't be thinking about it from a ratings perspective. You know what I mean? And I understand that, but the fact of the matter is, I don't really know how else to think about it other than from a ratings perspective. I guess is the best way to put it. You know what I mean? So it's sort of like, even from a ratings if you're going to look at it from anything other than a ratings perspective, if I'm supposed to look at it from anything other than a ratings perspective, how am I supposed to look at it? You know what I mean? And that's something I'm just going to have to figure out, as it's something I still got to learn how to look at it from not a ratings perspective. RX likelihood, chances of E winning, and who would be next in line. I would probably say I would put Bray Wyatt. I mean, I would put Bo Dallas at a 50-50 right now. I don't necessarily think that there's a high likelihood of him winning, but I also don't think that there's a low there. I do think that there's a slight chance that I may just say, you know what, screw it, let's let him win, because historical significance, but also let's let him win just to see how it affects the developmental standing, and if, like, it's sort of like how it would be on the main roster. Would Biggie would Big E be pissed? Would Big E be angry? Would Big E be frustrated because he's losing to somebody like on the somebody in the status of Bo Dallas, or would he be okay with it because it's developmental and he's leaving? Because E is in fact leaving. But the other side effect is, I booked this match, like, in post tapings. I planned this match out to be a dusty finish with E cheating to win or taking advantage of it some way, shape, or form. I've been thinking about bringing E in a manager. I was looking at AJ Kirsch. AJ Kirsch seems to be a capable manager, or somebody of that variety. Maybe Raven. We'll see what happens. But the fact of the matter is, I booked it as E wins tainted to allow a rematch, not thinking that Big E would be. Because I called it that the reason why I was putting Sammy against Cassius Ohno was to be a but you are walking into your own nightmare. The reason why I positioned Cassius Ohno and Sami Zayn against each other is because I knew Cassius Ohno and Sami Zayn would be likely called up sooner rather than later. I knew they would be. 100%. I knew they would be. The one thing that I didn't like, or the one aspect I didn't like, yeesh. Well, the one match I didn't like is, let me finish one thought at a time. The one aspect I didn't like was how many people they're calling up at one time. Because it's like once they hit that leg of popularity, up to the main roster. The fact is, I was not surprised that Chris Hero and Sami Zayn are getting called up. But the one match that I have not planned a finish for is this one. Or did not plan a finish for was this one. Simple as that. I have the plan for Sami and Cassius. I have the plan for Big E and Bo Dallas. But also the fact of the matter is, Big E, Cassius Ohno, Sami Zayn, they're going up within the next 2-3 weeks. Meaning I have the show next week, the live tour next week. I don't have to make the change. I don't have to change up the stuff. Tonight, I could make the change next week. Simple as that. But now we're also getting the expectation that, or getting the idea that it might be a little hard to expect. It might be getting a little. I got it. I got it. There we go. Dusty finish allows for the rematch. Because they didn't lose, but also at the same time, they didn't win. I hate doing this. I do. But it's like, well, I know I'm not crowning Bo Dallas at the same time, so I don't hate it. But 90% of the time, I put the world title in the main event. Tonight, I'm not doing that. I'm putting Cassius and Sami in the main event. Goals to make the big leagues and WWE. Big E, Bo Dallas, video, highlight package, and see, the one thing I would say is, and I think this is something that a lot of people would say, catering to a smaller roster is something that you got to get used to when you're used to catering to a large roster or having a large roster. Like, I'm used to WWE. I'm not used to a small roster like this. And even with a small roster, because of the fact that I have less shows and less TV time, like, I still haven't used Colin Cassidy, which I'm going to change that, and I'll book Cass on the pre-show. I'm liking CJ Parker. I am aware of his future and his potential. Not Mason Ryan. Sawyer Fulton. The one person I have not used is Torito, or one of the people that I have not used is Torito. And the main reason why I haven't used him is because I just don't know how to use him. Honestly, I just don't know how to use him. And the crazy thing is, a lot of these guys that are saying that they haven't been used since the beginning of May is people that were used on a TV taping, and that the reason why they haven't been used since the beginning of May is because every aspect of the TV taping was taped. Was taped at the beginning of May. And then we're going to throw the X-Men on the pre-show as well. So it's like you have everything taped on the pre-show, taped on the first week of May, so everybody's going to have the same last use date. But it's just hard, especially when you have, in my opinion, such a one-sided roster, because the one-sided roster, it's all heels. It is all heels. So if I could hit the refresh button in any way, shape, or form, it would be to bring baby faces and overcome and bring more baby faces in to the roster, because did I not? What the hell is this use? Oh, I would bring so many more baby faces in because I thought E was a baby face when I first started. Now I'm losing Sammy, I'm losing Big E as a heel, I'm losing Cassius Ohno as a heel. But I could probably count on one hand. Now I'm curious actually. I'm curious actually. Male status, active wrestler. I brought in Travis Banks. I brought in Fred Yehai, Marsh Rocket, Matthew Justice, and that's it. But Sammy's leaving. Justice is here for a day. So it's a very, 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 very weak babyface roster. It's a very strong heel roster, but it is a very weak babyface roster, in my opinion. And I think I need to work on that as far as bringing in more heels. I mean, bringing in more baby faces. Unless I do the outside thing of babyface champions, feed the babyface champion heels, and have a ton of heels to choose from. But the fact of the matter is, I like having a balance. I don't like having one or the other. But either way, CJ Parker did solid. Colin got good in his first match. Fred Yehai has impressed, I gotta say. I mean, honestly, Fred Yehai has impressed since I brought him in, and that's one of the reasons why I brought him in, because I also knew he would be a babyface. Even though when I brought him in, he was set to debut as a heel. Go figure. Xavier is somebody that clearly has potential. I mean, I like this entire thing. I like this entire women's match. It's just unfortunate because I feel like the women's division is going to be a one-sided nature unless I elevate some other women and find other ways to bring other women in. But I think that's also what it was, and I think it was more balanced after Charlotte got called up, but that's just me. But this is Dusty also basically explaining that NXT is basically just going to be changes for the first couple of months and first couple of weeks until everything gets set up. And it just so happens that this might be the first and only time that Tori Wilson is set on camera, but we'll see what happens. Baron Corbin didn't do bad. Corbin didn't do bad. Matthew Justice did solid. Jimmy Hart did well. I also did not include Jimmy Hart as the manager of Neville and Oliver Gray. Because even with Jimmy at ringside, if Bray Wyatt gets involved, Jimmy Hart's not going to step up and, Jimmy Hart's not going to step up and be like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. No, he's not going to step up and confront Bray Wyatt. That ain't happening. Bayley gets her first win. Not horrible. Enzo and Jake Carter all over as a tag team. Garrett Dillon and Jason Jordan were a better tag team, in my opinion, performance-wise. The panel idea did solid, partially because Dusty was in it. Anything with Dusty in it, anything with Dusty in, does solid. Bray's been used as a manager recently. Eric Rowan pinned Adrian Neville. Previously unconscious ref recovered to reverse the decision because Rowan had been disqualified. That's not what I wanted. I wanted Bray Wyatt to be disqualified because he ran in and attacked Neville. But either way, I don't have a problem putting the belts on the Wyatts, but I just didn't want to do it off rip. Fitting. And exactly what I expected. 20 minutes. This is basically Sammy versus Cesaro. And I am basically booking Cassius Ohno as I believe WWE should have booked him, because the one missed opportunity, and I wish it would have worked out, but it didn't, for a variety of reasons, most of which we would probably never understand, is Cassius Ohno in WWE. But I've been a big fan of Chris Hero, and I spoke about this in the previous video. I'm disappointed that Chris is going up to the main roster. I would have loved to be able to use him in developmental, but I completely understand. And like I said, none of these matches, none of these segments, none of these feuds are getting changed because of the call-ups, because there's no reason for me to change them. They're not leaving tomorrow. You know what I mean? They're not leaving tomorrow, so there's no reason for me to change them. You know? Plus, if I keep a good run with Sammy and Cassius, if they get released by WWE or sent back down, then they would want to come back. If they hate me, then they won't want to come back. Either way, that's it for TakeOver. I said I would record it. I did exactly that. And now we are ready to jump in to what is going to be a fun bit of, I guess a fun puzzle would be the ideal way to put it. A fun puzzle, because we have a puzzle to do as far as who's going to be the one that replaces Big E, and I got to start piecing together the pieces to rebuild NXT and build it in my image after the roster gets taken apart by the upcoming call-ups by WWE. Either way, I hope you're enjoying this series, because I am, and you will see more as time goes on. More than likely more from the television once we get to the next set of TV tapings. But either way, I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am, and if you are, let me know down in the comment section below. And if you would like to see more from this series, let me know also. And, of course, any suggestions, comments, or concerns, let me know down in the comment section. With that being said, I will see you in the next video. Until next time, peace for now.